Hello,
And then I
welcome back to BroPartisan Hacks. Take two, had some difficulties with some sound. That's okay. Got it fixed.
All right. So, what I was saying before was that, we're going to get into some Ukraine stuff and Russia stuff, obviously, because that's the biggest news of the day. However, before we do that, I've been meaning to talk about some of the stuff that's been going on in some of the state legislations, and some of the the local people are doing. One of the things that's big right now is this Florida "Don't Say Gay" bill, but also in Texas. I don't know if you know this, but I mentioned it in a text that I sent to you a while back. But there's a Texas congressperson. I don't know if he's senator or representative, but he has a list of 850 books that he wants banned from schools' curriculum or school libraries. 850 books. There was a school board meeting not too long ago, somewhere up here. I don't know if it was Plano or McKinney or something like that, where these parents came through and they had a list of 256 books they wanted banned. And McKinney has a pretty good rule where they're like, if we can talk about that, but you have to have read the book. Like, you can, we can talk about it, we can list it, and you can come bring your complaints, but you have to have read the book, and you have to be able to prove that you've read the book. And they're like, so some of these educators are like, there's no way these parents read 250 of these books. Lies. Anyway, so.
I mean, if they're children's books, it'd be pretty quick, right? But if they start talking about some, substantial books.
Well, some of them are pretty substantial, but Ruby Bridges' book is on there. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. I think we've talked about that on the show before, the Ruby Bridges book.
Yeah.
That was the one they were trying to ban in Tennessee. We talked about it before. But anyway, the reason I want to talk about this, the issue that I have is it feels like conservative parents don't want to talk to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that may seem broad and generalizing, but the more and more I look at this stuff, the more it seems like you're afraid, or not you in particular, but they are afraid of their kids learning something that doesn't fit with the narrative that they're trying to indoctrinate their kids in. And my issue with that is, if my kids, and this is what I've always said, when somebody says, oh, well, what if that's controversial? What if it brings, what if the kids start a riot, or what if, whatever. My thing is I would be the proudest papa if my kids read something, right? They read a thing, they thought about the thing, and then decided to take action about the thing, regardless of whether I agree with what the action is, or regardless of whether I agree with, what their thoughts on it are.
Mm-hmm.
If they read something and were like moved so much that they're like, I have to do something about this, I would be ecstatic. If any of my students read something and were like, what? We've got to do something here, I would be the happiest teacher on the planet. Now, I'm going to back up and I'm going to tell you a story. You know this story because you're related to me and we've talked. But when my senior, one's a senior in high school right now, when he was in the third grade, I remember this till the day that I die. This is exactly what happened, and I'm going to go through this word for word. Okay?
As much as you possibly can.
As much as I possibly can. So,
right.
We were sitting me and the oldest and my two oldest were sitting at a Chinese restaurant, and I remember it was a Chinese buffet, right? So they were sitting there, and I don't know what the topic was, but somehow the little one, the third grader, says yada 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 butt sex, and I'm just like, right? So I'm like, man, listen, don't talk about stuff you don't know about. You don't know what that is. He goes, I know what that is. I'm like, shut up. No, you don't. They're like, you don't know, so let's just not talk about it.
I'm not prepared for this.
He goes, yeah, dude. Like, dead serious. I know what it is. I'm like, all right, what is it? This is exactly what he said. Listen. It's when a man puts his penis in a woman's butthole. Sometimes it's two men. It can go either way. And I was like, that's right.
Why do you? That's exactly right.
So I was like, okay. I said, where did you learn this, right? So I'm like, I'm at this point, I'm like, okay, we're going here. This is time. This is happening.
This is happening.
All right.
All right.
So I'm like, where did you learn this? And my friend and blah 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 blah. I'm like, which friend? And he, of course, wouldn't tell me. So that's fine.
It's fine. Zane can't
like,
come around anymore. No.
I'm like, okay, that's fine. It is what it is. You've been exposed. Here we go. So I said, yeah. I said that's right. It is the penis in the butt. It can be men and women and man and man. That's a thing. And I was like, do you know what regular sex is? And they both just kind of gave me this stare. Or traditional sex, I guess. I shouldn't say regular. That's pretty offensive. But I said regular. It is what it is. I'm only human, right? So, so I was like, okay. Raise your hand if you know what a vagina is. And they're like, a girl penis. I was like, not really. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I said, we're going to wrap up here, and we're going to go home, and we're going to get the anatomy and physiology book out that I saved specifically for this. Like, I saved my textbook for this event because I knew this was going to happen. So anyway, we did that, and I kind of explained how sex works, and blah, 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 and this is the parts, and this is how it works, and yada, yada, yada. And I went through the whole thing. Not a big deal. But my point to all of that is...
You left out the best part of that story.
What's the best part?
Where you went in and had to explain the menstruation cycle to Gabe, and you went through all of that, and then pregnancy, and then birth. And his statement at the end of all that was, you know what, Dad? I'm glad we're boys. It's like, that sounds like a lot.
I missed that.
He said, you know what, Dad? I'm really glad we're boys. Or something along those lines. He's like,
That's right.
That just sounds like a lot. It's funny, because I was actually telling that story to somebody who was talking about their 9-year-old last night. This exact story. And they were like talking about how their 9-year-old just has a question. Well, what's that? Well, how does that feed in? Well, what does this mean? And there's always the follow-up question.
Yeah.
And
That's why I got the book.
I was like, yeah, so if you start with butt sex, it can only go uphill from there.
That is true. But, at the time it made sense because when I thought about it, it was me and them. We're all boys. They don't really have exposure to girl parts. They're not out watching porn. So, they know that they have penises, they have buttholes, like
they've just figured it out, right? Like
right, they like it, just that makes sense to them, you know what I mean? And so then of course you have to have the conversation that's like, hey, listen, so while we talked about all this, there may be some other parents that aren't okay with their kids talking about this. Be careful of who you talk about this stuff with, kind of thing, knowing they're full well that they're going to go tell all their friends everything that we talked about. But,
right, yeah. It's just, hey, you want to know what I learned? Yeah.
So, and then, now they're old and I'm sure they're out hoeing around. The oldest one. The middle one. The one that he had prom last night. So
did he come home last night at least?
Well, he went to his mom's, but he so he had a girlfriend up until like 2-3 months ago, and then they broke up, whatever, and then he started like dating around, right? Because that's what you do when you break up with your girlfriend. Well, he started dating my pole vaulter, who's like the nicest girl ever. And I'm like, look, if you mess her up before district, we're going to fight. Like, you be nice to her. So
if you fuck up her track meet, we're going to have words, son.
So anyway, I guess my point is like, though I understand now that's a conversation that I had with my kid, right? That I as the parent had with my kid. And the other thing I can tell you from experience is that there are a lot of parents that don't have those conversations with their children. Okay, so if you think about that, like, had we not had that conversation, it would have been, they've gotten that information from their friends, they've gotten that information from maybe an inappropriate spot. Now, one of the things that I think, and it's controversial that I think this, but I think you need to have bodily autonomy conversations at an early age. Like, this is your body, nobody touches it. These are the parts where, it's not okay for anybody else to touch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is healthy at a young age, because I think ignorance leads to abuse, and so it makes me wonder when someone says, I don't want my kid knowing about that. Well, why? So you can be inappropriate with your kid? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like no. Like, I feel like that's kind of an unfair position, right? No. So hear me out, right? So you had that conversation. You went through everything in the 3rd grade, right? And that's sure, whatever, right? I don't know if that's age appropriate or not. It doesn't matter because he was there, right? This is happening. It's kind of like with my son and the potty training right now. Like, right, he's really young, but he's ready for it. He's there, So we're doing the best we can with where he's at developmentally to get it done. Great. And I was so proud of him this morning. Just watching him just a few minutes ago, like, he went and sat down on the potty and just peed. And we've been having to, like, grab him and throw him on it and do all this other stuff. And we've just been constantly, like, asking him, like, okay, If you got to go pee pee, where do you go? To the potty. Okay, where's the potty? Like, point to it. I want you to physically point to it. And about every 10 minutes, and we're asking him that question just to like reinforce. Anyway, so right, he's there. He's ready right now to do this. And I think that parents, if you're doing your job as a parent, you kind of know where your children are in these things. Now, if say he gets to the third grade, and I don't think he's ready to have those conversations, but somebody at school introduces that to him, then I'm kind of stuck with it, right? And I don't think that's fair to me as a parent either.
Okay.
Right? So, now, bodily autonomy, that can happen before the third grade, but I'm just saying, like, for anything, like, you're preempting that decision on where your kids really should be, or you think they are, right? I gotta get pissed off because, like, I think he's ready to, like, go to the third grade class, but we can't, or the 3-year-old class or whatever next year, but because his birthday is after September, he's going to be like me, where he's going to be like 18 through most of the high school, you know, in a senior year, because it's the birthday in the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah.
But developmentally, he's ahead of that.
Right,
at least
but,
right now.
but
So
then
it's like,
because we dealt with that thing with our oldest, because he had a July birthday, and so he would either be too really old or really young.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of a weird deal. So we
well, that's I mean, that's another argument altogether. But like the idea that, you know, I don't.
Here's the thing though, because Florida doesn't really have a comprehensive sex education curriculum or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if it's curriculum, but you kind of know what I'm talking about. So there's nothing that says these are developmentally appropriate at this point. It says in the bill you can't talk about anything that's not developmentally appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But
it doesn't
doesn't
define that.
It's not defined in their state.
Mm.
And so it's like, what? Because sex education, what's appropriate at kindergarten is bodily autonomy stuff. Is, you know, that kind of thing is like saying, you know, it's healthy to wash your hands. It's healthy to wash your penis. It's healthy to wash your pits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to get into you're going to grow body hair here. You don't have to get into those kind of things at kindergarten, you know, first grade, second grade, third grade. I understand that. But you have to have some form of what is age appropriate at those ages. Now, the Don't Say Gay bill says literally, I mean, it's called the Parental Rights and Education Bill. Now, I have my own issues with that language in and of itself, and we can talk about that in a second. But it says on the first page of the bill, prohibiting classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in certain grade levels or specified manner. What's the specified manner? And what does that mean to a kid with two dads or two moms? What does that mean to a kid with one mom who is gay? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
so a lot of times,
if you can't discuss it, and somebody says, why does he have two moms? And the teacher's like, can't say. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
So, I don't know. There's things that are referenced here. I got it pulled up. So this whole bill is an amendment to an existing thing. Their education charter, whatever this whole education bill is, right? It's all an amendment. And it references, and I haven't cross-referenced this obviously yet. It references this section 1001.42. It references sections 1002.20, sections 1014.04. So it's talking about adopting procedures. Like each school is responsible for adopting procedures for these things. How do you do blah 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 blah? And so it seems like a lot of this is guidelines for school boards to put procedures in place. But again, I haven't been following this like I have the Ukraine thing, right? I'm watching World War III, but it's just what I'm seeing here at a glance, and so I would be curious.
It does say specifically though, because it talks about
procedures
not being. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, things like this, like procedures may not prohibit parents from accessing any of their students' education, health records, created and maintained by the school district as required. Procedure must reinforce the fundamental rights of parents to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their children by requiring school district personnel to encourage a student to discuss issues relating to his or her well-being with his or her parents, or to facilitate discussion of the issue with the parent.
Here's my issue with that. And I don't know about Florida, and I don't know about other states, but I do know that Freedom of Information Act, you can access fucking everything. You have access to literally everything. That's one. Number two.
So I have to hire a lawyer to go file the documentation?
Actually wanted to be involved, if you wanted to know what's going on in your kid's classroom, okay, it is all available. It is all available. You can go right now to my Google Classroom that parents are allowed to join, right, as a parent, and you will get updated at every single assignment. You will get a copy of every single PowerPoint presentation. You'll get a copy of literally everything.
What happens when the school principal tells you, like, teachers to send out fake curriculum?
I've never heard of that. I don't know where that is. It sounds like bullshit.
Let's see here. Rockwood School District in Missouri. Now, Missouri is ranked number, 49?
Yeah.
In education. Florida's like number 3. Like, they're really high up there. So, I mean...
So what they bitching about then?
Who, in Florida or Missouri? This story?
In Florida.
What are they bitching about?
They're ranked number 3.
Yeah.
What are y'all complaining about? Texas is in the 40s, I think.
I don't know. Let's see.
Or 30s. I don't know.
It's 43rd. Yeah, so we're falling from 39th last year in the annual quality counts report from National Education Publication. Whew. Massachusetts. Texas earned a grade of C- this year, while the overall nation earned a C. Massachusetts ranked first in the country, earning a B+. So B+ puts you at number 1 right now.
Yep. So here's the thing.
Oh wow.
I've had students who have confessed or confided that they actually change.
Oh shit! I'm talking shit about Missouri. They're higher than us.
Yeah, they change their personality when they go home. They lower their voice. They put more bass in their voice when they talk. They change their clothes when they go home. They are afraid of what would happen if their parents found out that they were gay.
Mm-hmm.
And this bill, now it does say, literally in the bill, and they must have added the amendment, but it says something to the effect of, this subparagraph does not prohibit a school district from adopting procedures that permit a school personnel to withhold information from a parent if a reasonably prudent person would believe that disclosure would result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect, as those terms are defined. So it does say that.
Okay. I just saw that. Yeah. I was like, hey, it's right there.
But that doesn't mean that a kid is ready to come out. It doesn't mean that a kid is, like, even if they don't think that the parent's going to beat them, even if they don't think the parent's going to abandon them.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Well, abuse can take many forms. And, like, so you're a reasonable person, right? Like, if you've got a kid confiding in you and telling you that they feel like they have to change their behavior when they go home, you're going to take their word at it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, come on, really? Your dad seems like a nice guy. Like, surely he wouldn't just, like, not feed you for 3 days or something over this, right? Like, you know, withhold his affection of you as a person and his son. You know, surely your dad wouldn't do that, even though you've just told me that's what you think is going to happen, right?
Right.
So you're not like, to me, that's your whole complaint right there is protecting the kids, right?
Right. That's the important part, is protecting the kids. Because, I mean, I don't know, it just seems, it's very, like, it's vague, I guess.
Well, I think
it's vague enough to
get away with it. To give you.
Yeah, it's vague enough to get away with it.
It's vague enough so that it gives you latitude, and the school board and the school principals and the people who are in charge of taking care of kids latitude to do the right thing.
But it could bring about lawsuits.
It could.
Most likely.
But
because
when the judge pulls this up, he's going to be like, look, this is the policy and procedure that was in place. Your student here is telling the counselor and these confided testimonies that we've been allowed to, you know, put in as Exhibit A. Shut the fuck up. You're an abusive parent. Like, we did this intentionally because of, you know, what testimony is here. And here's the evidence and blah 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 blah. And if they really want to go to court, they're going to lose.
One would hope.
It is Florida, right? I don't know.
But you know, things have happened because, you know, the judges in Texas shot down that trans bill. I don't know if you remember that. It's the one where it would be considered abuse if you allowed a kid to be trans. Like, it would be child abuse. Like, if you call the kid by their chosen name, that would be child abuse. Yeah, that was good. That was Greg Abbott. Thanks, buddy. Do you remember that?
I do remember it vaguely. I also remember that, it was my friend of mine telling me yesterday that I guess Paxton is going after some schools in Texas over the recent executive order thing.
Paxton. Yeah, that's the Attorney General.
Yeah. Paxton is apparently trying to get reelected now. And
what do you mean? What do you mean going after schools?
I don't know. I hadn't looked it up yet. It was just something my friend told me last night or the night before we were hanging out. Paxton. I hate looking stuff up on stream. Paxton or on recording.
I know it takes forever. But I guess while you're looking that up, I'll say that it was a deal to where it was like it would be like if you were encouraging a kid to, I guess, be themselves or whatever, or encouraging them to. Yeah, there you go. If you were trying to get a kid to, do something that made them trans, then that would be child abuse, and that would be illegal, and you were going to be prosecuted. And some judge, I don't know where, because I read a headline and I didn't go through it. Some judge said, "Nah, that's not okay." So, because it was like, yeah, politically motivated, yeah.
So, okay, I see what it is. The way it's written, and I guess whatever Paxton did, he's basically like sending the letter as a threat, saying like, parents could file complaints against you. You shouldn't do this. So he's not actually doing anything, according, if I'm reading this correctly. Now they're trying to be like, it's Washington Post, so it's written in such a way. But like, Paxton noted parents could file complaints against the school district, and I guess that's really it. So he can't do anything as the AG. Judge temporarily blocked the policy. State Supreme Court to overturn the ban. Yeah, so all this is still kind of in flux, and he's basically just sending nasty grams, trying to publicize this thing. Sounds like.
So, man, I had a thought and I lost it. Pull that back up, or link it to me so I can. I wanted to see. Yeah, committed bribery, abused his office, denied the allegations.
I sent it to you in the message chat. You should have the link to
in the message chat.
In the meeting chat.
Yeah, go back. Oh Lord. Okay. How do I pull up the chat? There we go. Today.
The letter marks the second time in recent weeks that Paxton has set his sights on matters affecting LGBTQ children in the state. Last month, Paxton issued an opinion that some gender-affirming medical treatments for transgender children constituted child abuse. Days later, Greg Abbott ordered state agencies to conduct investigations into parents who allow their children to undergo the care. A judge blocked the policy.
Oh, and asked the state to overturn the ban. I see.
Yeah.
So, this is what I was gonna say. What is the deal with, like, okay, so if the message is love is love, if the message is, families are families, it doesn't matter who's in the family, it's a family. Why is automatically, when someone says, hey, that person has two dads or that person has two moms, the thought automatically goes to sex? That's sex education. Like, I don't understand that. Like, is the fear of you being a gay that great to where you automatically think? Let me give you an example. Right? If I say, my wife and I went camping this weekend with our kids. That's just us as a family. We went camping, right? Why is that different than me saying my husband and I and our kids went camping this weekend? Because according to all of this, if you say that, then that's sexual somehow. When it's not. It's as innocent as the first thing. We went camping. I went camping with my family. But all of a sudden, because now it's gay. Then,
Gay.
then,
It's like the way you said that.
then it's sexualized. Like, I don't understand. You know what I mean? And I guess that's my issue.
Would you think that we live in a hypersexualized society?
No,
No, you wouldn't think that.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I mean,
I think a lot of people.
So
I mean,
don't either.
Right. We're not in Europe. Right. So, like, no, people are so scared.
I've seen their commercials.
People are so scared of bodies. Like, I don't. And I think it's just because, like, I think because a lot of people that complain about it are deviants and privately. And so they get in these positions of power and they already have deviant mindsets and they think everybody else does too, which really just isn't the case. The people, and I can't back this up because I don't have the numbers, but I'm convinced that the most vehemently homophobic people are gay. Like, they are so scared of being gay themselves, so they fight and they rail against it their whole lives because they have gay thoughts. I really, truly believe that.
It's just a form of repression, and we're gonna make everyone else repressed too.
Yes, and like I said, I have no numbers. I can't back it up. But why else would you be so scared? Why else would you be so, like, I don't know.
Here's the thing. Like, I don't care about any of that, really. Like, I don't really have a dog in the fight, right?
Right.
As long as that plus continues to exclude pedophiles.
Okay, I'm with that.
All right?
I'm with that.
That's where I'm at.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly.
If somebody wants to go bone a cow or whatever, like, I don't care.
Right.
That plus had better continue to exclude pedophiles. That is not a protected class.
I agree, 100%. 100%.
And that's where I'm at. And that's a hard line.
I'm sick of it being that gay equals pedophile.
Right. I mean, yeah.
I mean, you look at the Boy Scouts who had issues with the gay leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out that the ones that were super straight pillars of the community were the ones that were abusing kids.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't the gay leaders. It was the regular leaders. You know what I mean? Gay doesn't equal pedophile. And I think a lot of this stuff leads to that same narrative. Also, and I just want to get back to what I was saying earlier about parents getting involved in class, in their kids' school. If you want to, it is 100% legal for you to walk into your kid's classroom and sit down with them and go through a day with them. If you want to, it is a teacher would be so happy to have an extra set of hands in the classroom, an extra set of eyes in the classroom, especially in some of these first and second grade classes. You ever been to a first and second grade class? It's terrifying.
I have been to the 2-year-old class a couple of times and talked to his teachers and you know, done that stuff. And I know wife goes more than I do, but it usually, at least in that class, right? So, like, 2-year-old is not kindergarten and not first grade. Like, these kids are essentially, it's like guided activities more than like a class. And so it's like, hey, everybody gather around, we're gonna do this, and if they don't go sit at the table, that's okay too. You know, they have 2 teachers in the room at all times, and like one of them is kind of watching what's going on overall, and the other one's supposed to be doing the activity, you know. And so one is basically in charge of like safety and like making sure nobody runs away or whatever, and the other one's doing the activity. And what they told us about one day was like, apparently all of the kids had lost their collective minds this one morning, and whether it was like Skittles in the drinking water or something, but they were all going bonkers. And my son is just over in the corner just kind of watching them like, no, I don't know about all this. Y'all are
crazy.
like, and she said like that day he was just kind of like standing over there out of everyone's way, just kind of observing, and like, I don't know why y'all are acting like this. Like,
y'all crazy.
But anyway, yes, I have been to that classroom and the parent night or whatever, when all the kids were running crazy, and yeah, it's chaos. It's controlled chaos at best. At
that's 2-year-olds, and it gets better, as they progress up. But I'm telling you, like, it is, it is up to a parent how involved in the school they want to be, and they can be. And this is the thing. I read a story not too long ago where I was baffled. There was a parent who didn't understand why their kid wasn't going to graduate because they had failed every single algebra class the entire school, from freshman to senior, and they were having to retake all the classes. And I'm like, I get a fucking email every single day about my kids' grades. Every day, every missed assignment, every good grade, every bad grade. I get a detailed email. These are the assignments he got above a 90. These are the assignments he failed. These are the assignments he got, he didn't turn in. Every single day.
Is that like a sign up button on Blackboard or something? Like,
yeah, it is.
Okay, I was I don't think I'm getting that from a teacher, like writing out a detailed email for 30 kids or something. That sounds like a system that's set up for the school.
It's through the grade book.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
The thing that we use for the grade book is Skyward, but it's through the grade book. And I get that. I signed up for that, and so when the teacher puts in a grade, I get an update. Hey, this is the grade. This was the assignment. This is the TEK on the assignment. TEK is Texas Education Essential Knowledge and Skills. But
it's the state required curriculum. Yes.
Yeah, I get all of that. So why are you not?
So let me ask you this: with that clause, let's bring it back here. With this clause and the ability of the school to make conscientious decisions regarding, individual students, right? That's what this is.
Yeah.
Do you still have a significant issue with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everything that you've said about parents having access, parents having whatever, freedom of information or whatever like that, I think this cuts through a lot of that red tape.
What red tape?
Freedom of information, like filing a Freedom of Information Act, is red tape. Period. The end. If I have to go and file documentation to request information, that's red tape.
That's to get private emails, right? It's to get private emails, and it's not private because it's through, like, you would still have to, even regarding this bill, you would still have to. In order to find out about the actual education part, the actual curriculum part, is as easy as about 4 clicks of your fucking mouse. It is performative, and that's the issue that I have. All of this shit is performative because you have access as a parent to every single bit of your child's education right now without that bill.
And
right now,
the statements on like healthcare and stuff, emotional services, all that's available right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know. Like I'm not there yet.
It is. Or here's the other thing. This is kind of cool. Email your kid's fucking teacher. If your kid comes home and says, "Hey, we learned about this today," and you're like, you have a question about it, right? Let's say we read, "Hey, we went and read Ruby Bridges today," right? And you're like, "Oh God, here we go," right? Are you familiar with Ruby Bridges? It's the girl who went to school and all the white kids and they were mean to her.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's still alive? By the way.
It doesn't get better.
It's not that fucking long ago.
Yeah.
But let's say the kid comes home and says, "We read Ruby Bridges," and you're like, "That's anti-white," and so you can email the teacher and say, "Hey, I have concerns, right? Can you send to me your lesson plans and your curriculum and how you're going to go over this? Can we talk about that, or can we meet and can we talk about that? Would that be okay?" And I guarantee a teacher will be like, "Sure, come on up," or here's my lesson plan. Here's how this is going to go. This is the things that we're going to talk about. This is the stuff I have written up. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you can guarantee that for every teacher. I don't think you can guarantee the behavior of all of them. Right?
Sure.
That's a fair assessment, right? A reasonable teacher, yes, would be a problem.
A reasonable parent,
right? A reasonable person, it wouldn't be a problem, right? But you can't guarantee that everyone's going to be reasonable.
Guns blazing, of course, the person is going to get defensive,
right? Because of course,
because that's normal.
So
but again, if you just say, "Hey, I have some concerns. Can you share this with me, or can we meet?" That's not an abnormal request.
Right. I agree. But I also think that you could have a teacher, get that email saying, "Hey, I saw this thing," and they're automatically going to get defensive because that's their personality,
job to communicate
right?
with parents.
I get that.
It is our job to communicate with parents. It's written into the fucking contract. Yeah. You have to communicate with parents. You better figure it out, or you can't be a fucking teacher. And because you'll get if you say, the reality is, if you're like, "I'm not going to have that meeting, I'm not going to discuss this with you," then of course that goes over their head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would happen with this bill anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You'd have to go over their head. It would happen in the same exact course of events for this bill is what would happen anyway. That's why I say this bill is performative. It's all just to get votes. Because if a parent cares, they can get all of the information now without this bill. It doesn't really cut out any red tape, because if you want the private emails, you want the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, you would still have to form to get a Freedom of Information Act.
If it doesn't change anything, then why are the Democrats there trying so hard to not let it pass?
Because they're scared of what the implication could be.
Okay.
The implication could be we get brought to court because somebody said the word gay, because somebody said Timmy has two moms, and the teacher was like, "Yeah, and that's okay," and somebody gets mad about that,
mm-hmm.
and brings a lawsuit.
I don't know,
because it prohibits sexual orientation discussion
from grades K through third grade, right? Is that what it is? I saw it here. Here it is, yeah.
Yes, K through third grade.
Classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through third grade in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards.
But there's no definitive state standards.
You're saying they don't have the standards.
Exactly. So without any standards, without saying this is what's okay and this is what's not, this is the standard and this is not, now it's subjective. And so now you're bringing lawsuits and you're bringing stuff that wouldn't have happened, I guess. Or, I mean, I guess it could have, but now it's against the law, and now they're ready to sue.
Now, this is interesting. So by June 30th, 2023, the Department of Education shall review and update as necessary schools counseling frameworks and standards. There's your standards. Blah, 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 blah. Standards. By June 30th, 2023. This act shall take effect July 1st, 2022. July 1st, 2022. So they're going to put this in, not have the standards, wait a year, see how it goes, and then update their standards.
Yeah.
So I think by not having those standards, I don't know, like, if the standards don't exist, you can't be held accountable for it. Right?
I guess.
I don't know. That's kind of how I see it. I'm not a lawyer, but like, you're going to hold me responsible for here it is, for students in accordance with state standards, but the state standards don't exist yet. They won't exist for another year. How are you going to hold anybody accountable to the standards? What does that mean?
But yeah, no, I get that.
Ain't nobody going to jail over this shit in a year. Now,
but again, I think one of the issues is that I have is anything that regarding LGBTQ people, I guess, automatically becomes sexual. Like, instead of just, this is families, this is what families look like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it doesn't, if you have two you have two dads, instead of saying I have two dads, you're like, I live with two men who bought me when I was little.
Who bought me?
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, it just seems, like I said, I still think it's performative, and I think that it boils down to conservatives being scared of having conversations that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, at the end of the day, if my kids read a book and they were like, hey, white people kind of suck, and I could be like, why do you say that?
Yeah.
Right? Now I get to have a conversation with my kids. You know what I mean? Like, and I, because I'm a human and I treasure those things. When my kids come to me and say, hey, why are people so against this? I'm going to say, well, what do you know about that? And then we can talk. And it's great. It is like one of my favorite fucking things to do. Especially with the older kids, because they understand a lot more. They're kind of out in the world a little bit more, and really, like, it's fun for me.
Yeah. I can't wait. Right. For me, like, I totally get all that, and I think we're gonna end this segment soon. Take a little pause.
Well, I gotta go because I gotta go to work in a little bit.
You gotta go to work.
I gotta go drive.
All right.
It's my second job because they don't pay teachers enough.
Yeah, Ukraine's still blowing up, so we can just whatever.
Huh?
I was just saying, yeah, Ukraine's still blowing up. Like, there's still war going on, invasion.
Well, just real quick, because I am struggling. I am struggling with the defense of Russia. Because I keep seeing it over and over and over. And I don't understand where you're like, well, America, yeah, I get it. America sucks. Like, I understand. We suck. But so does Russia. And this that they're doing is some asshole shit. It's bad. So I understand where, people are like, why are you so, like, sanctimonious and how dare you be, the the what's the word? The cry bully, I guess. Because because we've blown up how many countries in the Middle East? Like just
how many hospitals? How many right? Yeah. Okay.
I understand that. That doesn't make what Russia's doing right or okay. It doesn't, like I'm struggling. And so I watched this thing the other day, and it was really good because it was like it was some dude talking at the UN, and he was saying something to the effect of the West doesn't have any moral objective. The West only cares about money, and they're going to destroy anyone who gets in the way of that money. And that's really at the bottom line, and they'll justify it however they can, but at the end of the day, it's money.
Yeah.
And so the enemy then becomes Russia, or it becomes China, or it becomes Syria, or it becomes Gaddafi, or whatever. The United States supports 73 different dictators across the country, or across the world. 73 evil, vicious dictators. So I'm saying I get all that. It still doesn't make the invasion of another country okay. That's where I'm at. There's no justification. Yeah. There's no justification for what we do. There's also no justification for what Russia's doing.
Right.
That's where I'm at in my life.
So invasion is bad. All this is bad. The fact that we've invaded every country in the Middle East at least once is bad.
Yeah. Yes. All of that. All of that.
Oh, okay.
The illegal. No, I believe that every president since, what did we say? Eisenhower, Reagan, like every single one of those presidents is a war criminal, and they should all be prosecuted. All of them.
Right, but we run the Hague, so that's not going to happen because we have the invading army on call 24/7, ready to go. Right.
I understand that.
I really like that picture you sent me that like Russia's about to fuck around and find out why Americans don't have healthcare.
Well,
that's pretty
actually,
good.
I don't know if I talked about it before, but it was a meme, obviously, or it may have been Trump, but we've talked about it. Is like Europe has outsourced their military might to us. And so they get all the good shit. They get they can afford to have healthcare, and they can afford to have all that shit. And we don't.
We got to have 80,000, Tomcats or whatever the new plane is. Tomcats are like 40 years old now. But, yeah.
No, there's a new one, like the F-35.
Yeah, the Tomcat's the F-14. It was in the 80s. That's what they made Maverick with, right? Like Top Gun.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? They're flying our old shit. That's what it is. This whole thing and all the weapons that they're sending over to Ukraine from like Germany and Poland and all these other countries, those are Soviet era weaponry that have been neglected and sitting in a warehouse. And they're like, oh, we can just get rid of this shit now? Here you go, Ukraine. We're helping. There's a Vietnam era, M16s. Good luck. Here you go.
Have a good time.
No. All right. I'm gonna add a pause here.
It gives us an excuse to spend more money.
Hey, yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. Is like Raytheon's coming in. They're like, hey, well, we can restock your warehouses.
Yeah.
I laughed. The other funniest thing.
What?
I was gonna say the other hilarious thing I saw was the I think it was satire. It's definitely satire, but it was like Lockheed Martin CEO gives tearful response to declaring a no-fly zone over Ukraine. And then start off World War III. Yeah, it's like, please, we should protect them.
Yeah, but war is profitable.
War is profitable.
And I'm telling you, they've inserted their fingers in every single state in the country, and so they're like, that's jobs, that's this, that's that. There's no way to undo it, like at this point. There's just not, because there's too much of the constituency that they need those jobs. They need to build tanks, because if they don't build the tanks, then however many people are out of jobs. Even though we don't need fucking tanks anymore, they got to build them. They need money to build tanks. What do we need tanks for?
You need tanks. Combined arms is the most effective land force. Now, you still soften it up with your airstrikes, but the way our military moves in is drone strikes, missiles, Air Force strikes, then the Warthogs come in, then the helicopters come in for close air support, then you march your army in with combined arms, infantry, and tank support. And then you have your artillery soften up any hard targets and resistance that they come in. That's how our military operates, right? It's all of it. You got to have all of it for the current tactics for our stuff. Now, if you've watched any of the stuff that I've sent you, when Russia pushed in, they had these massive tank columns that were unsupported, and they were losing 20, 30 tanks a day or something like that. Something ridiculous. But it's because of that. Anyway.
Can we do this?
Yeah. I gotta go.
Me too. I gotta go to work, and you gotta go.
Later, brother.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of BroPartisan Hacks with Reese and Rob. We really, really appreciate you watching, tuning in. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to us. We're putting out content as often as we can. Share it with your friends. Get it out there. Get our names out there. Also, hit that bell, tap that bell right there so that you can get updated when we put out a new video. Rob and I are trying to pump these videos out as often as we can. However, we both have day jobs, we have families, so our schedules have to line up so that we can make a new video. Speaking of our day jobs, our opinions and views expressed are our own and in no way represent those of our respective employers. Thank you. Thanks again for watching.